Back in the shop today. I've got a part to install in my two-wheel drive Traxxas street truck. This truck's heavily modified, and one of the last things to do was the differential here. I finally destroyed the gears last time I was out running it on 3S on the street. All the gears in here pretty much are broken, teeth everywhere in there. So I decided, instead of installing another diff, because this truck is pretty much made just to go straight and fast, I figured I'd put a locker in it, which eliminates the diff and just puts a locker in there, and the otherwise known as a spool, I think they call them also, or a locker. And so basically you just take all the gears out of the center of this. I'll clean it all up, and you install this in there. Pretty simple. When you get these, you have to, there's a grub screw there at the top, and there's one at the bottom there. You want to make sure you take those out and Loctite them. There's a flat spot on this shaft where it's supposed to go. What you want to do also is take some type of measuring instrument and make sure it's centered. Make sure you center it perfectly centered so you don't have a problem mounting your drive shafts at the end. So I'm going to get this cleaned, cleaned all out, and I'll show you what it's like when it's all cleaned before I install this. Alright, I've got all the parts cleaned up here. You can see these are all the parts that came out of the diff, the broken gear parts. Here's the gears they broke from. This one is the worst. It looks like a pinion now. It used to have teeth all the way on it, kind of like would have looked like this one. This was the best of them, and it's still missing 2 chunks, so it's pretty bad. These gears here, the output shafts, this one was the worst of the 2. It's kind of, see the edge of the teeth are all gnarled off. This one's still usable, but we won't be using it anyway. We will be using these pins over here, these 4 pins. I cleaned those up. Cleaned up the cap here, one side, and I cleaned up this really good. I made sure I got all the metal out of it and got most of the dirty old grease out of there. Doesn't really matter as long as there's no metal. It really doesn't matter because once you put this locker in, it's not going to matter anyway. So we just use the 4 pins and the locker. I'm going to put that together and show you what it's like when it's installed. I don't think I'm forgetting anything else, but yeah, can you believe how many parts are there? I'm going to zoom in here a bit. Look at all those parts, eh? Those are all chunks of teeth off of those little gears right there. Amazing, eh? Just exploded in there. That's 3S power for that little differential. Just can't take it. Not on the street when you're accelerating hard, just grabbing a handful of throttle as much as it'll go, and lighten them tires right up. And I was getting some pretty good runs out of it until that happened. So we're gonna install this and take care of the problem. So let's get it put in. One thing I did want to mention is one of the holes where the pin goes in, it's the one at the top. It's right there at the top. That'll be center screen. I don't know if you can see it really, but there's a couple of small cracks in it, and it was like the pin got pushed sideways when the gears binded in there and started breaking. The pin tried to push sideways out of that retainer there, the pin retainer, the plastic. It's not going to matter because we're going to have 4 pins, and it's going to be holding the spool in. You'll see what I mean when I get this together. So here, I'll put it together. Alright, I've got the spool, the locker installed there. You can see the 4 pins sticking out. The locker sits nicely in the casing. It fits pretty much perfect right into that area where all the gears used to sit. I didn't weigh the gears versus the locker. I'll try and get that in the video, what the gears you know, what the difference is between gears and locker for weight. If we're saving weight with the locker, which I would imagine because the locker is mostly aluminum, whereas all the gears are steel over there. So I'm going to get this cap put on. I did add a little bit of lubrication only to where the pins sit in their holes and where the shaft is here. So as it passes through this hole, it's lubricated mainly to keep dirt out. So now you just put on the casing here. There's a couple of lineup marks. Oh, did I pop a pin out? Yeah. Okay, one of my pins, because of that, the casing that had the crack in it, the pin alignment hole, you have to put it in last. It won't line up properly. It was falling to the side. Anyway, get on with it. A couple of alignment marks on the diff casing itself, which align with the cap. You can see them on the cap right on each side. So it goes down. Doing that will make sure it all lines up. All right. Seems good all the way around. Nice and locked tight. It ain't going nowhere. Okay. Now I just got to get the screws and we'll tighten that up. All right. I'm just going to put the last of the four screws in to the case here, the diff case, which is now not a diff case. It is just a locker case. I've already used one of these lockers in another RC of mine, which is my Slash converted to a quad, and it actually worked pretty good, the locker in there. So I had ordered a few more of the lockers because I have several two-wheel drive Slash vehicles, and when I blow up the diffs, I'm just putting lockers in them because I don't use them a lot, and when I do, I don't mind if it drifts out, and you know, I don't mind how they drive with lockers in them at all. They're just for fun, those little vehicles anyway, as all RCs are. All right, we've got that all back together. I'm going to pop this into my aluminum transmission case. You can see there, my nice case there. And I'm going to put that together and I'll show you what it's like. Nothing special about how it goes back together. I will add a bit more grease to the gears in the transmission here before I do put it all back together, and I will check the bearings to make sure they're good to go and I don't need to replace any of those. But I'll show you the transmission when it's all back together. Here we go. All right, I just want to give you the weights for the gears, the diff gears versus the locker spool. So we're going to start with the diff gears. That's here. This big pile of mess over here. Traxxas diff gears and shafts, or the one shaft anyway, and the gears that are all broken and gnarly. So 15.6 grams for all this pile over here at parts. Compared to the locker, aluminum, and this, I believe it's a chrome ollie shaft and aluminum. That's the black part is aluminum. And that only weighs 9.7 grams. So you're saving 5.9 grams by adding this locker and getting rid of all these gears and stuff. You're saving 5.9 grams, almost 6 grams lighter, the locker. So, and it's cheaper to replace the locker than it is to buy all the gear set. Don't quote me what the gear set was, but I believe the locker cost me about $15 to get that off eBay. I will try and put a link in the description for where I got these, but you can find these lockers for the two-wheel drive Traxxas two-wheel drive transmissions. They're readily available on eBay, and they come in several colors. I believe they come in blue, red, black, and silver. So look into those if you want to replace your gears, your diff gears, and your two-wheel drive Traxxas with a locker diff. No diff, just locker rear end. Anyway, I'm going to get on with the video and show you what the transmission is like here. Alright, I've got the transmission all put back together here, and it's a nice Integy transmission case here. You can see Integy written there. And now while you spin the spur, it's kind of hard to see both, but you spin the spur and the shaft, the output shaft for the transmission, for the drive shafts there, you can see it spinning. And the other one's spinning the same. They both spin at the exact same time. And there we go. Posi rear end. Let's get this installed into the truck. Alright, I've got the transmission all back installed in there, into the truck. Looking good. Went back simply in. Let's see, there we go. So turn one forward, the other one goes forward, back. It's a locker. We've got a locker. Alright, well, I'm going to get these wheels put back on, and I have one more thing to show you that I'm doing to this truck before the end of the video. So I'll get these back tires put on, and then I'll show you that last little detail I'm adding to this truck. Alright, we've got the wheels back on the back of the truck here. Looking good. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you was I was replacing the stock front wheel hex. That's this one here. This gray one. I was replacing these with these fake disc rotors. So the only thing was, when I ordered them off eBay, I thought they would be a direct fit, but the hole in the center here was just a little bit too small. So I got in there with a round file, and just kept filing it and fitting it onto the axle until it fit good. And so I got one on here, on my axle here already. It fits all good, and it's going to work great. Just a little more detail you can add to your vehicles, your RC. They were fairly cheap. I can't remember what they costed per set, but it wasn't very much. Like I said, they come in black, blue, silver, I think, and red. The whole back is blue anodized. The front, they've cleaned it off where the disc would be. And they're just a faux disc. And yeah, just a little added bling you can add to your vehicle. And because this is a street vehicle and I don't get it dirty often, I figured I'll just throw them on there for some looks and get rid of the plastic, cheap looking hexes that come with the Traxxas trucks. Anyway, that's the last I'm going to do. I'm going to throw these wheels on, the front wheels, and I'll give you one more view of the truck with the body on it after I got it back together. Alright, here's the truck all put back together. And like I said, this truck started life as a two-wheel drive Stampede, and it's had a lot of modifications. I built my own custom chassis for this, so it's far from stock. Like I said, every part on it now is pretty much aftermarket. There's maybe a couple of stock Traxxas parts. If I look closely, I could find them, but she's pretty modified. Anyway, I'll bring you some videos of this thing running on the street, doing some more street sessions. Me and Jay Woods will take all the street vehicles down to the dead-end road that we got and do some speed runs and super motard driving with the RC bikes, Pro Motos. So anyway, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed. And leave me a comment. Ask me any questions you got about this or any other projects I've done. Anyway, I'm going to let you go for the evening. So Screaming Demons RC, SDRC, we're out.